How y'all doing, Warrior Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Warrior Pulse Podcast. I'm your guest host today, Reagan Harrell. Thank you, Weber Athletics, for letting me fill in today. Today, I am joined by our head athletic trainer here, Tim. How you doing today, boss?
All right, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, Tim, is there anyone you would like to give a special shout out today?
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to the midget on the football team.
Who's that?
The Mexican midget.
The Mexican midget. Oh, you're talking about Gilbert.
Gilbert Delgado, the little guy that has no hands, runs a mile a minute, has that crappy ass car. But I gotta give a shout out to him. You gotta fight for the underdog.
For the underdog. Hey, he works really hard. He always puts a smile on everybody's face. He's a great guy. Getting into a little bit about you, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your college life and before you got here to Weber?
My college life. What do you want to know about my college life?
Well, let's keep this one PG.
Okay, my college life. Went to Ohio University. Got my master's in education. Master's in education with an emphasis in athletic training. Then I went to John Carroll University, where I got my master's in education along with athletic training. After I've completed that, I did a stint with the Cleveland Browns, and then I worked with the Cleveland Clinic for 5 years.
How was your time with the Browns? There's not many people here to say they work with the NFL team. How'd you like that?
It was an interesting time. Mm-hmm. It was back in 89, 90. Oh, wow. So it was a long time ago. Yeah. A lot of players probably wouldn't even know who they were. Yeah. Been that long. But I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
Didn't like it. It was more of a, it wasn't I don't want to say fun, but it was a business. Everything had a dollar sign to it. You had the coaches, if you had the star player out or one that they were counting on and he was out, well, the player, he doesn't want to go back until he's 100% because there's no way he can make $5 million a year doing anything else but playing football, so he wants to be 100%. And then you got their agent who's on your case that his athlete or his player is not going back out on the field until he's 100% because he can't make his commission off the player if he ain't making money. Then you have position coach, then you have coordinator, and then you have head coach that are on your ass about getting the back out there too. Yeah. Because they can't win games or they can't do well if he's not out there. That means if they're losing or if it's because that position isn't playing well, then the position coach loses his job, coordinator loses his job, then eventually head coach loses his job. Yeah. And then you have front office. Front office wants people back out in the field because if back then Bernie Kosar was the starting quarterback for the Browns, if Bernie Kosar wasn't out there on the field, that was the one that was selling the most jerseys and all that stuff, and he was... people figured if he wasn't playing, they were going to lose, so they weren't ticket sales and all that stuff. So front office wants them back out there because, again, GM, owners, it's all that. Yeah. And then you have team physician. Now, the team physician is trying to walk the line between the player and front office because now he can't hang his sign up on a thing saying he's a team physician for the Cleveland Browns if he upsets front office people because they'll get rid of him and find someone else. He wants to stay loyal to the players because then the players don't go to him. Now, back then, it was guys were going and getting, how can I say this, second and third opinions on everything. So then you had to travel with them, you had to go to the doctor with them, so it was them, the agent, you, and, it was a lot. And it just came down to a lot of it was money. Plus, I was there at a bad time because the head coach, he knew if he didn't win the Super Bowl, he was done. They were going to clean house. The veterans knew that they would probably be gone. Rookies were playing. how much they had in their contracts. It just was one of those.
So a lot of people may think that they want to play or work for an NFL team, but sometimes not all it's cracked out to be.
No, it isn't.
When did you get here to Weber University?
Oh, I got here. I looked it up the other day. It was, I think, 2001, 2002, somewhere in there.
That's about 20 years. How would you say Weber has changed from when you first got here to now in 2021?
I first got here, the football team was just starting. They just did the fitness center. The fitness center used to be a gym. They just put the gym with the wooden floor in, so that was pretty new. But on the other aspect, it was all open, and where the training room is, that was a stage.
Oh, wow.
Back then, they were big in what was it? I don't want to say hospitality, but it was the garment industry, fashion design.
Right.
So they would put on 2 fashion shows here every year, and they would put the walkway out. They had chairs all in there and the whole bit.
That's funny to think there's a fashion show here in Babson Park, Florida.
Oh yeah, that's how this place has changed. A lot of majors were dropped. Things that weren't going, but they put a training room up there on the top of the stage, and then they put the second floor. It was all open up above. That second floor didn't go in until when they redid the fitness center, and up above there was no coaches' offices above there. All it was 2 racquetball courts.
Wow.
Where those coaches' offices are up there, those are realistically racquetball courts.
Wow. I mean, that just shows how far a university can change over the course of 2 decades. The next question, where do you see Weber being in 20 years from now?
That's...
Or your idea for what would you like Weber to be in about 20 years?
That's kind of a loaded question because of how I answer it. I may not have a job. No, what's always kept me here is Weber's a diamond in the rough. We just have to get administration on board to figure out what we are. Right now, the problem we have is we have no, I don't want to say direction. It's not that. It's we have no of what we are. I mean, if you take a look at our student population, and over 90% of our student population are athletes. I mean, I say we're an athletic school. What made you come to school here?
Other than football. Short answer, football. Yeah.
Football was the sport that got you here, right?
Correct, yes.
Our problem is we get a majority of our student population comes here to play a sport. And now, I'm not saying we throw education out the door and all that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we got to take a look at what brings students here and capitalize on that. No one's coming, and I'm not being mean about this, and I don't mean this in a mean way or anything, but no one at first is coming in here saying, I want to be an accountant. I'm coming to Weber to be an accountant. I'm coming here to play football, or I'm coming here to play my sport and get an accounting degree.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we need to put the emphasis, I don't want to say all emphasis has to go to athletics, but we need to be able to draw in athletes with athletics. We don't have, and this is because of athletics and how our student population is. Our student population is all athletics. So they're practicing, they've got study halls, they've got classes, they've got games. They're busy. So regular campus life is different here from everywhere else.
Right.
You don't have a ton of intramurals. You don't have a ton of groups. You don't have Greek life.
Sure.
I mean, there just isn't enough time in the day for the majority of our student population to be involved in that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's always been nice. And for 20 years, I've heard this, that we need to get more non-athletes, and it's stayed the same for as long as I've been here. Now, are things going to change a little bit? Yeah, they're opening up some new majors, and they're doing that stuff, but I really think that we need to take a look at and just come to terms. We are not the Harvard of the South. We're not known for our our education. I mean, our education here is great. Don't get me wrong. You're getting a solid education. But we need to emphasize what really brings student athletes here.
Right.
And to me, that is athletics. So if we would do stuff that had, that helped out coaches recruit more students here, then that would help overall the whole mission, the whole idea of this campus.
And I think if you give more opportunities for the coaches to go out and recruit better athletes, I think I would assume most coaches here, they agree they want better student athletes and recruiting.
Well, see, that comes down to that's a loaded question, because I've seen athletes come in here that started in the Fresh Start program. I don't know if you guys know what the Fresh Start program is.
I do not.
It's a program where students were able to come in, but they had to meet certain criteria their first year. They have to, certain GPAs and all that kind of stuff. Have to take Fresh Start class. These are people that didn't do well in high school. All right? Well, I have seen numerous, and I mean numerous people that have went through Fresh Start that have gotten their masters here and that are having incredible careers and jobs. So it's not that it's getting better or smarter athletes. We're a blue collar school. I mean, you take a look at our student population. Our student population, no one's coming from, I'm not saying this in a rude way or anything, but no one's coming from multi-million-dollar families.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's,
everyone's pinching the penny, scraping together to go to school. We're blue collar. We've got people that come here that are hard workers. They're going to come in, they're going to bust their butt, they're going to try to do the best they can with athletics, run it for as long as they can, and then get a degree with it. It's not that our athletes are stupid or dumb. It's not that. It is that we've got athletes that are talented, that are smart, and we just need to capitalize on that. It's not that we need to go recruit these 4.0 students. That's not us. I mean, it's just, we've got athletes that are just hard workers.
Right. Well, I mean, I think I could not agree more with your statement. I agree. Weber is a diamond in the rough. We have blue collar guys and girls working here, playing here, and I think that's who we need to continue to recruit. But moving on and getting on to more of your athletic training background and what you think. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening wanting to know about the great mind of Tim. So, great question I wanted to ask, and something I've dealt with. I'm sure many have. When an athlete gets injured, especially a long-term an Achilles, ACL, you can lose a little motivation. It sucks. You're going to be out for the rest of the season, potentially miss a part of the next season. My question is, injuries, they're no doubt they're one of the worst parts about being an athlete. As an athletic trainer, how do you motivate an athlete that's in a long recovery process, or maybe it's a repeat injury?
It comes down to knowing your athlete. If you don't know your athlete, you can't help your athlete. You need to know what motivates them to make them do what you need to do. Rehab is, everyone thinks, like someone gets rehab and they see them over on the side of the field working with us. Guys that are out there in pads and all that sweating, they're thinking they got it easy. It's not that easy. No, it's not. We're making them grind. They don't see the other stuff, what they're doing in the training room. They don't see what they're doing elsewhere. It's a physical grind first, and then it's the mental grind. And you got to know what makes that athlete tick. And if you don't know that, then you can't motivate them. You can't do things well. I can be one way with you and another way with another athlete, because you're going to take it two totally different ways. I could be the drill instructor and hammer you and just be on your butt the whole entire time. But then I got to the other one, I gotta be with kid gloves. I've gotta be, you're doing, stroking, stroking their ego some that, hey, everything's good, everything's going well, blah, blah, blah. And it's just different on those. You just gotta know which way the athlete ticks and how they feel.
Right. I know this question is a little kind of open-ended, but what can an athlete do to kind of help minimize injuries, especially like a knee and obviously a concussion? There's not too much you can do about that. But what can an athlete do to kind of prepare to prevent major injuries in the knee? Is there anything that an athlete could do with that?
Well, here at Weber, what our biggest problem is our athletes' flexibility all sucks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you take a look at most of our athletes, their flexibility is terrible. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to when you guys are stretching, you take it all as a joke. Mm-hmm. It's kind of just screw around time, we're going to sit here, we're going to just muddle our way through it. Instead of really taking it as it's a true opportunity to get yourselves better. A lot of injuries can be decreased or eliminated if we had better flexibility and actually people took to warming up and getting ready for practice and games better.
Right. So y'all stretch before your games, stretch before your practices. It means something. Quit all that jacking around.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. The other thing too is we've got strength and conditioning here. And we have athletes, we have sports that hate to go into it. And I mean, the only way we can eliminate or mitigate injuries is if we start getting athletes that are stronger. I mean, if you take a look at some of our athletes and what the sport is making them do, and I'm going to throw this one out, and I'm not throwing this sport under the bus, but this is one that I see the problem with is bowling. Typically, bowlers are not lifting in high school, so when they get here, lifting's all brand new to them, and the flexibility and stuff. They're used to going to the bowling alley and bowling. Well, when they come here, now they're bowling much more than what they did in high school. They're doing a lot more rigorous bowling, where they're bowling for longer periods of time because with Kegel and their center up over there, they've got bowling lanes now open to them almost all the time. So for them to go in there and bowl 8, 10 games, or what they have is overload nights, well, a lot of our bowlers aren't ready for it. We'll have a lot of bowlers as freshmen and sophomores have a lot of problems and a lot of injuries, and then as they get to their junior, senior year, you see them taper off because they've gotten stronger and able to handle it then. And I'm not throwing that sport on the bus, but that's one that comes to mind very quickly. I mean, you take a look at some of our runners too. Our track runners, cross-country runners, it's more on the track side because, again, they don't run as much as they are now. I mean, when you go to high school track season, it's in the spring, boom, done, over with. Right. Here, you're running all year long. So now the pressure of them being running, and now all of a sudden, how many track runners did you ever see going to the weight room in high school? Now all of a sudden they're being thrown into the weight room and working out. It's another sport that it's not used to what we put them under. So, yeah, I mean, we have it good here. We have a good athletic training staff. We have a good strength and conditioning. We have a good weight room. If you take a look at most NEI schools, most of them don't have what we have in those areas. Yeah. I mean, we're a lot better off than a lot of schools, and now we're going to ask a lot more of them. So now we're utilizing those areas, especially strength and conditioning, where a high school kid,
Yeah, I come from a Division II school, and we have a much better athletic training center and strength and conditioning weight room all around the program. It's levels above the Division II school I was at, and I can only imagine compared to other NAIA schools how much better Weber is than other schools. Just to wrap up, I got one last question for you, Tim. What's your greatest accomplishment as an athletic trainer? Getting to wake up and see our beautiful faces every day is what I would
man.
assume.
That's loaded right there. There's some people I don't want to see their faces again. Joe.
Joe.
Isn't it time for him to leave yet?
That's been. I think I got a funny one. He has been here at Weber since I was a sophomore in high school, and I'm now a sophomore in college. So
Yeah, there's just something wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that. Joe needs to go. No, my greatest accomplishment, I couldn't tell you. Maybe, well, first of all, being in the profession as long as I have, I mean, a lot of people do get burnout. I actually really enjoy what I do. I love what I do. But I think one of my biggest accomplishments is what we started off with here. I mean, when we started football, the only athletic training room we had was on a stage. So we worked every sport out of the stage.
wow.
That training room here in the gym. Had the opportunity to claim some room up in the football where we could do that, and it's been a slow build every year. Buying a little more, doing a little different, trying to improve. I would say that's probably my biggest accomplishment is what we have now over the 20 years that I've been here.
Yeah. That's awesome, Tim. I can't thank you enough for being here on the Warrior Pulse podcast, and thank all of you Warrior Nation for tuning in. Love all you guys. Have a great week. Now for the real.